What's up everybody, Steve here. Today I'm going to pull back the books and show you detailed information of essentially all the financials associated with a real estate flip. Now, full disclosure, this is not a quick flip in any sense, but I am going to go through exactly how I made $69,000 tax-free. Now, this is the exact strategy I've been using for decades to grow my wealth and ultimately become financially free. Now, I have to preface, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant in any sense. So if you have further tax questions pertaining to this, be sure to approach the appropriate professionals. But I will put some IRS links in the description below for you guys as well so you can read up. So essentially every 2 years, or roughly a little bit past the 2-year mark, I will sell my primary residence. I ensure that I purchase it right in terms of making sure that it's a good deal at that time. And then if there is a realized gain there, I will flip the primary residence. Now, with the current IRS code, that gain is free and clear of any taxation. Now, there are certain limitations. I believe if you're a married couple, I believe the cap out is a $500,000 gain. And if you're a single individual, I believe it's up to $250,000. And again, I'll put a link down below for you guys directly for the IRS code on that. Before I break out the financials on this transaction, be sure you guys stay to the end because I'm going to break out some tips for you guys as well to ensure that you guys are buying real estate right. Also, I do have a very inexpensive course. I'll put a link in the description below on how you can create financial freedom for you and your family. All right, now I did another video on I regrettably sold my beachfront condo over in Bonita Springs, and I'm actually still filming in it right now because I'm actually doing a lease back with the existing owners on this property. And anyway, I love living here. It's a great space, but you know what? Everybody has to keep moving along to ensure that you guys can basically do what I'm doing and create tax-free revenue. So the initial acquisition on this property was $315,000. Now, what you want to do is you want to include any costs associated with it, especially closing costs if you guys are financing. I did pay cash, so basically my out-of-pocket was $315,000. My renovation cost was $31,500. Now, as you can see, and I'll put a spreadsheet on the screen for you guys, I'm very detailed in any of my real estate acquisitions and exactly to the dollar of where I'm spending money and ensuring that I know exactly what it cost me to basically renovate the property. And then the final sales price on this property was $435,000. So let's go ahead and take a look at the complete breakdown because we do need to go through everything in detail because there are closing costs associated with it. So you can see a $435,000 sales price. There was a $31,500 renovation subtracted from that sales price. You got to subtract out $315,000 for the initial acquisition. And then I had $19,200 in closing costs. Now that was a combination of dock stamps on the deed. So the state of Florida charges 70 cents for every $100. And title related closing costs, that's title insurance as well. And then I had to pay a cooperating broker who procured the buyer for us 3% of the purchase price. So we co-broked her 3% commission. Now we subtract all that from the final sales price of $435,000 and we get a tax-free gain of $69,300. Now let's talk about some tips associated with it. Look, not all markets are going to be going up. We're always in a market cycle in real estate. So sometimes the market could be flat, sometimes it could be appreciating, and other times it could actually be in a depreciating market. So you got to take this with a grain of salt in terms of what market you are in and ensure that you guys regardless are buying right, which is my next tip. Is what I do is I look for the properties that need work, that have been neglected or they haven't been updated for years and years. I'm not looking for the property that's already been renovated and done up. I want the rusty properties that I can add equity to. In majority of cases, I'm buying a property where if I put the necessary renovation into it and I sold it a month later, I already had a gain. So that's not my intent with my primary residence. As I mentioned, I want to wait the 2 years to ensure after I sell after 2 years that gain is free and clear. if the market is flat and you guys don't have a gain, or the market is decreasing, make sure that you guys are buying right and also creating plan B, C, D, E, etc. So there's other properties that were my primary residence that didn't fit this mold because we didn't have necessarily the appreciation, and I turned those properties into investment properties. So when I'm looking at it, I want to make sure that these properties are cash flowing at a minimum. They're cash flowing, because if I do have to move that property as a rental property and put it into an annual rental, and then I can go back into the market and find another primary residence to do this, then I want to make sure that I'm exhausting all my options for that acquisition before I make the acquisition. Doesn't make sense to flip this into an annual rental property. The next tip that I have for you guys also is ensuring that you guys are living below your means. A lot of properties that I've acquired over the years were not necessarily properties I wanted to live in or neighborhoods that I wanted to live in. It was more, I'm just looking at the deal and also what it's going to cost me to live in this property for a 2-year period. You know, if it's very expensive to live in the property and it's going to, you know, cost me, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month to live in the property, and my gain is $60,000, then it kind of defeats the purpose, because all that money was shelled out over that time period. But if it's going to cost me, you know, $3,000 a month to live in, and it's $36,000 a year, but my gain is potentially $250,000, then, you know, we need to take a closer look at that. So I always recommend we live below our means, and that's another part of that financial freedom course that I created, is really just a simple formula to follow to get you to a position where you don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about a paycheck. And ultimately, again, this is what I've been doing for literally the last 2 decades, and it's worked out really well for me. So I appreciate every subscriber on this channel, and if you got any value out of this, go ahead and tap that like button, and thanks a lot for being here, guys.